Well, welcome to our next PACE webinar. It's a pleasure to be here today, and thank you all for joining us. For those of you who are not familiar with PACE, we're a global nonprofit professional association composed of professionals looking to help make their organizations make better, more informed decisions using analytics. We do that using causal models based on PACE's Profitability Analytics framework. This webinar is being recorded, so please keep your microphone off and your video off as well. During the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat feature, and we'll do our best effort to answer all of them at the end of the presentation. If you do want a copy of this presentation, please send your request to the speaker. He will have his email address on his last slide. So having said that, it's a great pleasure to welcome back Professor Chandan Jha, who has a very exciting topic, I think, to speak about today: operational research and analytics in sports. I think many of us have watched the movie Moneyball and thoroughly enjoyed that. It's, we talk about the use of analytics in business, but obviously it can be applied in almost every facet of our lives, and the application of analytics in sports can provide lessons in every aspect of our life, including our work. So Professor Jha is an assistant professor in the operations and analytics area at the School of Inspired Leadership at the School of Business Design in Mysore, India. He holds a bachelor's in tech degree in mechanical engineering, a master's in tech in industrial engineering and management, was a research scholar at IIM Ranchi, and is currently doing doctoral research at IIT Dhanbad. His research interests focus on enhancing efficiency in education and healthcare, which I think we can all agree is areas that sorely need that kind of focus, using operational research and psychology. He's presented his research globally at prestigious conferences. He served as a reviewer for conferences across Asia, the US, and Europe. So I think you'll agree he's very well qualified to speak on this topic. And I think hopefully you're all as excited to hear his presentation today as I am. So without further ado, Professor Jha, take it away.
Thank you so much, Rafe, and the entire PACE team for providing this opportunity. Let me share the slide. Right. So the topic I have decided for this webinar is operational research and analytics and their application in sports, inspired by the movie Moneyball. What all things we can learn from the movie and how they have implemented various statistics and algorithms, various optimization techniques to take certain decisions on selection of players, evaluation of players, while considering the budget constraint and formulating various strategy for the game, right? So this start with this particular classical scene, which we have observed in the movie, the first meeting with Mr. Willie and Peter Brand, right? So the discussions between these two gentlemen, what exactly we need to evaluate, what about the data. So various things you can observe in the background, what they have written, the various stats and values are there. The stats related to the games and the tournaments, right? In the background, we can see on the whiteboard, they have written there. So the question is how to evaluate the performance, why this is crucial, and what about individual performance as well as group dynamics, how a player is performing individually and how they are performing in a team. because the selection of player, that is extremely crucial for any team, because one single player's error can significantly affect the outcome of a game. So in operational research, there are various, uh, we can say, the contents like game theory, optimization techniques, MCDM methods are there that we can use in this context. We can use these methods to formulate various strategy against our competitors. And the objective is to win the tournament or the win the final game, which we have seen in the movie Moneyball, right? So assuming if you have seen the movie, so the question is how many players have been evaluated by Peter Brand? Because that's the task given by Mr. Billy Bain to Peter Brand. And the options are 3 players, 47 players, 51 players, and all of the above. So you can guess the answer. The correct answer is, it's very interesting and fun fact that all of the above answers are correct. All the answers are correct. The reason is Mr. Billy Van, they gave the task to Peter Brand to evaluate 3 players, but he was highly passionate about his analytical skills, or he simply loved his work analyzing the data or various kind of methods to evaluate the player's performance or stats of the players. So he evaluated 51 players total initially. But when they were having the conversation, he simply said 47. But in the next scene in the movie, he accepted that he actually evaluated, instead of 3 player, he evaluated 51 player. 51 player. So that reflects, so I have quoted the same statement which we all can see in the movie Moneyball, right? So instead of evaluating 3 players, Peter Brand evaluated, so he said 47, but actually he agreed later on that he evaluated 51 players, right? And the statement exactly I have quoted from the movie. I don't know why I lied just. So this statement, now if you observe in the movie Moneyball, this statement reflects his passion for sports analytics, right? And you can see what in the hand, the record is being assessed by Mr. Billy Van, the actor Brad Pitt, right? He is uh, observing all the analysis and whatever evaluations he did for all 51 players. Later on, they have highlighted certain statistical formula on the whiteboard. And these things we cannot see in normal speed. So if you want to observe these things in the movie, you need to uh, use the speed option on 0.25 speed x. So we have options for normal speed like 1x, 2x, 1.5x. So these kind of things you can capture or observe when you will keep the play speed on 0.25x, because within a second these scene will simply come and go very quickly, right? So you need to keep the speed option from normal speed to 0.25 speed. So extremely slow play speed when you will watch the movie. So this particular formula has been highlighted in the movie Moneyball. So again, the question is, what exactly they have highlighted? What exactly they have written this? So you can pay attention to the whiteboard stats in the background. And further questions is, can you guess the name of this formula and its application? So what exactly they are trying to calculate. So we have two images. One we can see on the top side, they have written certain formula, and in below we can observe the complete whiteboard where they have highlighted various stats and calculations are there, right? So this formula, it represents Pythagorean theorem. What exactly this formula reflects? It simply predict a team's future performance or winning percentage. So in baseball, they have various parameters like runs scored, and runs allowed. So they will use these numbers, and while using this formula, they will try to calculate the winning percentage of that particular team. And there are various other data and parameters which they have used in this movie, right? So it can be used in baseball, basketball, and cricket. These are the some sports. In a sports category, we can use this formula, and it highlights the winning percentage, estimates how many games a team should have won based on how many runs they scored and allowed, right? So their calculation was if they will score 884 runs, then further if they will allow 645 runs. Later they have explained that at least 99 games, if they will play at least 99 games, or they will score at least 814 runs collectively, and no more than 645 passes, if this is the condition in the tournament, in the game, right? So then they predicted the winning chances for Auckland. The projection was 0.6143. This is the value we can see in the movie. So in the movie Moneyball, when we will observe this particular formula, when they have written Oak 2002, means Auckland 2002 projection, and they have used this formula 814 square divided by 814 square plus 645 square, right? So they calculated, and the value, if you will observe, that is 0.6143. I have calculated it again. I used my own calculator and I have calculated this particular value again. The exact value is 0.61429. So approximately the values are correct. So in the movie, they have calculated all those values, and they have also evaluated individual players, right? So further, the role of data, stats, and analytics, we can see here. So what is the role of stats, research, and analytics in sports? This is the scene or images I have captured again from the movie. And the speed option, I already said that while watching the movie, I kept from normal speed to 0.25 uh, speed option I kept, and at least 10, 12 times I have watched. So using the pause button, I captured various images from the movie Moneyball. So one question someone can ask, that what exactly these images are representing? These are the codes. These are the outcomes from algorithms. Why we need to use algorithms? What is the purpose? Now the question is, if we need to select only 5 players or 10 players, so we can use any statistical formula or method, and we can do calculations on whiteboard. That is quite feasible, right? But point is, what if we need to evaluate more than thousands players, 10,000 players, 20,000 players? How we can evaluate all these players manually? How we can evaluate all these players' individual performance on whiteboard? That is not feasible. That is not possible. So there comes the role of analytics or the role of optimization techniques, programming language. So there is a relationship between stats, statistical techniques, mathematics, and programming language. In computer science, there is a various high-level language, right? For example, using R, Python, or using some optimization techniques, advanced algorithms, we can evaluate using some multiple criteria decision-making techniques, some heuristic models. We can evaluate the performance of players at individual level or the performance of a team, right? So this is the scene which you can observe if you will watch at extremely slow speed. You will observe all those things in the movie. And the role of analytics, they have explained further. The purpose is getting things down to one number. So whatever characteristics or parameters are there related to individual players, they need to convert all those parameters in one single score. Then only they can compare one player with another player. Then only they can do the assessment. They can rank the player. So selection of the player and further ranking of the player. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth rank. So the purpose is to find the best player from the pool of larger population. Using stats, data analytics to find value in the players. And what kind of value? Value which nobody else can see. That is the role of data scientist. That is the role of the analyst who is analyzing the data. And in the movie, Peter Brand, he played the role of data analyst and he analyzed all the parameters, whatever stats and uh, different characteristics. He had some great observations in the movie Moneyball, right? So they have taken references from this particular book also. The book is with the name The Bill James Historical Baseball Abstract. And they have highlighted certain uh, stats or how to select uh, players, what kind of decisions you can consider when you have to select the best players for the game, right? And what are the criteria which may impact the decision-making process? So they have highlighted people are overlooked for a variety of biased regions and perceived flaws while considering age, appearance, personality. These things we can consider are very sensitive in judgment or decision-making process. Selection of player and best player is extremely crucial if the objective is to win the tournament. But these kind of biases may impact the whatever best available resources we could have, right? These differences they can impact. Further, they have highlighted the performance levels for the players, so average performance and a kind of benchmarking how individual players are performing with respect to other players. They have highlighted certain formula again, for example, defensive efficiency record. These are the images or highlights I have captured from the movie Moneyball itself. So whatever images we are observing, all these things you can see in the movie Moneyball. So the role of algorithm, the role of mathematical modeling, the role of statistics, calculating the winning percentage or the probability. So in every aspect we can see mathematics, statistics, operational research, analytics, various algorithms, all essence are there. All these kind of things we can observe in the movie Moneyball. Then further they have highlighted that the role of algorithms, and they referred another book which you can observe in the PPT, and that is based on the real story in the US uh, baseball history. They have highlighted these kind of observations that the data analyst Peter Brandt, he actually evaluated 20,000 players, 20,000 players. And from the pool of 20,000 players, he identified 25 players. These are the players which they consider as a team that they can afford, because one factor was affordability, considering the budget constraint, right? So I have highlighted this point that their focus was on budget constraint and affordability factor, because they have used this terminology in the movie Moneyball. So there are rich team, there are poor team, and then there are team which can afford only we can say that very cost effective or in cheapest available options. So affordability was one of the key factor for them, because the budget constraint and these things have been highlighted in the movie. And why these players have not been selected by other team, because they have said that these are the players who usually considered as undervalued player in the baseball. What was the reason? Because they have been overlooked, undervalued by other team members or the owners, and they have given examples of three players, and that is based on the real story in US baseball game. The name of the players they have highlighted is Chad Bradford, David Justice, and Scott Hedberg. And this is based on real story. And that is the reason this movie become extremely popular in across the globe, not only in US, not only in Hollywood, but also in various Asian country. For example, in India, uh, Brad Pitt, they have a huge fan base in India also. So we all have seen that movie Moneyball, because that is based on the real story. And these are the three players. And what was the reason why they have not selected Chad Bedford? What was the reason? So the data analyst, Peter Brand, they highlighted in the movie that the problem was that he throws funny, he looks funny. That was the problem. Nobody cares in the final match when the only objective is to win the game, win the tournament. Who cares in those situations? But these are the regions. So in previous slide, I have highlighted the variety of biased reason. People used to judge on the basis of age, gender, appearance, personality, right? So this is something highlighted the insights, and in the bold font I have written, the role of stats and data analytics is to find value in the players nobody else can see. Nobody else can see. And that is the reason Peter Brandt observed from the pool of 20,000 players using algorithms, using optimization techniques, identified 25 players. And he quoted that this player, Chad Bradford, is one of the most undervalued player in the baseball. And he quoted one of the best player identified by Peter Brandt. He mentioned as one of the best player, Chad Bradford. And the suggestion, like we can see the role of price negotiations. So they quoted that the player can be fixed at 237K USD because in auction they have identified this data 3 million USD. That was the annual rate. Then if you will divide 3 million USD, then it will come to 250K USD. And they suggested that you can fix this player at 237K USD. So these calculations I did. So as I said that I have watched at least 10, 12 times this particular movie. So each and everything related to data, stats, algorithms, whatever scopes I have observed. So I tried to use this in the webinar. They quoted another examples for David Justice and Scott Hedberg. And if you watch the movie, this particular player, Scott Hedberg, because of this player, they won the tournament in the last match. So that was a very, we can consider a classic or fantastic scene of the movie Moneyball, right? Fine. So operational research and analytics in sports. Now, the scholars and the researchers, they are focusing on data-driven decision making in various strategy, formulations, efficiency evaluations, team management. They are using various techniques like various optimization techniques. They are using simulations, game theory, and the purpose is to help the team so that they can enhance their performance, they can maximize their efficiency, and definitely the purpose is to gain competitive advantage over their competitors. Efficiency evaluations tools like DEA's data envelopment analysis. So in this method, they can use various input and output parameters. We'll explain these things in detail, right? So the methods like multi-objective optimization, data envelopment analysis, SFAs, stochastic frontier analysis. Then there are advanced DEA models. We can use super efficient DEA models to ensure that the strategies are effectively implemented and leading to better performance, smarter decision making in the sports. So various models are there which we can use. There are few notable scholarly works and literature which we can observe here. For your further reference, you must explore these resources. For example, one research article which has been quoted by various scholars, a benchmark approach for baseball evaluation. They have used these optimization techniques or the algorithms. An economic evaluation of the Moneyball hypothesis. Then in a Springer Nature, there's editorial on Moneyball and a book review in the Journal of Revenue and Pricing Management. So these are some of the fantastic scholarly work and readings which will again help you to understand the role of analytics in sports, right? You can refer to this. Various research articles, and I would like to quote here. In the year 2019, I attended one workshop which was in IIT Roorkee. Actually, that was the initiative of Spark. Usually, IITs conduct these kind of workshop in India while collaborating with foreign universities, the top universities. So that time, Michigan State University of USA, fine. So United States of America, there the Michigan State University is there. So professors from Michigan State University, IIT Roorkee, and ISC Bangalore, four professors, they conducted the workshop on optimization techniques, multi-objective optimization techniques, and Professor Kalyan Moy Dev, earlier he was in IIT Kanpur. So he developed various algorithms and worked extensively on these sports context also using NSGA2 algorithms, multi-objective optimization methods. So in the workshop, he also quoted about the movie. So that is also one inspiration, and I must quote his name because he is one of the greatest professor I have ever seen in the field of operational research. He has maximum number of citations in these research areas. So Professor Kalyan Dev and other professors from Michigan State University, USA, and IIT Roorkee, ISC Bangalore, those professors highlighted the various methods which we can use in sports. And this subject is also very popular in electives in various tech and B schools. Operational research in sports. So various methods or techniques we can use to take decisions in sports analytics. So some of the work I have quoted here from various sports categories. For example, we can see the role in cricket, multi-objective optimization and decision-making approaches to cricket team selection, data analytics in football, and another book by Benjamin C. Almar. They quoted examples from various other sports, for example, baseball, football. So in this slide, we can observe the role of operational research or sports analytics can be implemented in cricket, baseball, football, and various other sports categories. Now, the question is how to evaluate the performance of a player. So what all data should be there? What all methods we can use? And for webinar purpose, I have highlighted, I took examples because in movie, we have seen that they evaluated the performance of baseball players. So in this webinar, since we discussed approximately 30 minutes on baseball, So I have used a sample data from cricket. So we have two different games, baseball and cricket. So the data or the stats of individual players, usually in research or data analysts try to observe quantitative as well as qualitative parameters of all individual players. This is how they used to formulate mathematical models, or they write equations. Then what all methods they can use? They can use MCDM technique, they can use DEA, SFA, they can use NSGA too, which has been used by Professor Kalyan Moidev. Then results and ranking. So in this slide, I have considered some sample data. For example, we have list of cricket players and some output parameters and input parameters are there. Number of matches played by these players. This is the dummy data. Then half century scored means 50 runs scored by them, centuries scored by them, and how many runs they scored. So let's consider that if this is the data, then we can use some algorithms which in DEA model, data envelopment analysis model. So using some mathematical equations, since in this webinar we have a very diverse background of the audience, so I am not going into the technical details of these models, but this is something we can frame the equations, mathematical model, considering individual level performance, for example, decision-making units, the DMU. So in this example, individual players can be considered as decision-making units. So DEA we can use at individual level, departmental level, and organizational level. So in three different categories, we can use these models. So we have input and output parameters. So for example, we can see the notations like Xij, for example, Xij represents ith input of jth DMU. So ith input of jth players, right? So accordingly, we have written and scores, ranking, and various methods. So using DEA method, we can see the scores. We can also see in the last column, we have IRS, DRS, and CRS. This IRS, DRS, and CRS represent constant return to a scale, decreasing return to a scale, and increasing return to a scale. And we have variable return to a scale, technical efficiency, scale efficiency, and constant return to a scale, technical efficiency. Fine. So we have both the models, input oriented and output oriented models. We have various other models like CCR and BCC, super efficiency models. How super efficiency model is different from these traditional models, because the reason we can see the maximum efficiency score in the traditional DEA model is 1. However, in super efficiency DEA model, they can further suggest among the efficient players, which player is most efficient. So if we have 10 efficient players, among 10, which player is the best player? So that is the beauty of this particular super efficiency model. Then we have NSGA algorithm, which is known as non-dominated sorting genetic algorithm. How this is different from the models? Because in NSGA, they use frontier approach. They highlight various frontier, and these frontier represents the best efficient DMUs, kind of players, if we use the sports analytics data for individual players. So if there are players on frontier 1, so that is non-dominated by any other players or any other frontiers. Frontier 1, frontier 2, frontier 3, and these frontiers, they use a Pareto approach as well, right? So also we can use MCDM techniques like hybrid method, combination of AHP and DA and TOPSIS and DA. So there are various methods in operational research we can use to evaluate the players. As we can see in previous research paper, they have highlighted certain methods to evaluate or the assessment for the individual players or for a team. So this was just an example. Further areas we can explore, because I kept the difficulty level, or I say that the technical discussions has been kept at very basic or at introductory level, because we have audience from various diverse background. Fine. So considering that factor, I kept this discussion at very elementary or introductory level. But yes, interesting areas to explore. We can explore how to identify best undervalued, overlooked players from a large population, from a pool of large population. So remember the movie Moneyball, what Peter Brand did. From the pool of 20,000 players, they identified 25 players undervalued or overlooked. And the term they used, the insights from the data or stats, which no one can see, no one else can see, right? So selection of players for games and fantasy leagues, that is also one interesting area to explore. Use of data envelopment analysis or advanced DEA models for efficiency evaluations. The use of predictive analytics for forecasting the trends. Game theory and strategy for competitors against player strategy. Nowadays, we can see various clustering algorithms that can classify players by playing style. So in which situation they can use a particular styles. We can observe and we can predict the behavior. Simulations while considering or creating math scenarios for optimal tactical choices. So various strategy we can formulate using game theory, these clustering algorithms. We can assess the efficiency of players. So example I discussed in that, I have used quantitative parameters. For example, number of matches scored, run scored by the player, century or half century. These are the stats related to cricket. Now, if we will have qualitative parameters related to attitude, behavior, motivation, right? So these all parameters we can include in the model for better judgment or decisions. So using qualitative and quantitative parameters in modeling, in mathematical modeling or in algorithms can give the best performance, right? So thank you so much for your attention, and thank you everyone for your time, and a special thanks to Gary Cockins, Rafe, Toby, and the entire base team. This is my email ID and contact details. If you have more interest, or if you are very curious to know more about sports analytics, or what all methods we can use in sports, in cricket, in baseball, in football, or if you have planned to read some good scholarly work or research papers, you can connect with me. We can discuss on these topics in detail. Fine. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Professor Chandan. It's been a very interesting session, and we'll move on to some questions that we have here. Before we do that, though, I have launched the end of webinar poll, and before you leave, please be sure to take the poll so we can get some feedback on this session. So the first question, just to level set, could you mentioned DEA, and just so everyone here understands what you're referring to, could you briefly describe what DEA is? And then after that, the follow-up, what are the advantages of using DEA over traditional performance metrics in selecting players?
Right. So in operational research, in OR or in prescriptive analytics, this is the part of MCDM techniques, multiple criteria decision making techniques. So data envelopment analysis, we uh, usually consider in MCDM category. Advantage is we can use various input and output parameters related to the players if we are doing the assessment at individual level. And the good thing is another advantage that we can use DEA at various levels of DMUs, decision making units. So at individual level, at departmental level, or maybe we can assess the team performance. So in business, we usually quote that if the objective is to analyze the efficiency and productivity of business organization, so we can use DEA for that also. So at organizational level, departmental level, at individual employee workers, or in a sports, individual players, we can use those techniques. That is the advantage of DEA. And that's the difference in SFA and DEA. Stochastic frontier analysis, uh, we cannot use a lot of inputs and output parameters. In DEA, we have a scope to use input and output parameters, multiple input and output parameters.
Great, thank you. There was a request to see your email address. I just posted it in the chat for those looking for it. As a second question, someone says, so India specifically used data analytics for the national cricket team? That's a question. He went to the All Black Museum and they used data analytics in rugby in New Zealand. So again, so has India used data analytics for their national cricket team?
That I'm not sure that they have used DEA or not, but it has been used by various research scholars, academicians in the research paper. I would like to establish connects in IPL auction committee, Indian Cricket Premier League, and then I can get some insight informations what exactly methods the owners of the team they are using. But it can be used, and some of the professors from the leading B schools in India, for example, professors from IIM Calcutta or IIM Bangalore. And in fact, Kalyan Moy Dev is the well-known figure in operational research. He's the professor in Michigan State University in USA. So they have discussed on NSGA or various multi-objective optimization techniques for selection of team and players. So definitely there are chances that directly or indirectly they are using these algorithms. Because in
Well,
movie also in Moneyball, we have seen the codes, the algorithms, but that scene was not that much, the clarity was not there. What exactly algorithm in Moneyball? So maybe if some insider can give the information. But algorithms they are using. Otherwise, it is not feasible to identify from the pool of 20,000 players. They cannot do it manually. Some mathematical model or algorithm they are using.
sure, and I'm sure there's some proprietary information and algorithms that they're using. So good luck in figuring that out. I'm sure it'll be worth quite a bit to the any team that does that. So it's another question. Uh, this is great to see the application of analytics to sports. What are other applications of DEA models and its use in other sectors?
Right. So there are few applications in we can find various research articles or academic literature, scientific research works in education sector, in energy sector. So assessment of smart in smart energy systems, in school education or in higher education, in various sectors, in healthcare, in IT sector, because in banking and financial sectors, because the reason is we can implement, this is related to efficiency and productivity. So we can use DEA to assess the efficiency and productivity of a decision making unit. And efficiency and productivity is a very common term for, and it is applicable everywhere. The efficiency of a firm, efficiency of business organization, productivity over a period of time for educational institutions, universities, healthcare uh, units. So it can be implemented in education sector, banking sector, IT sector, and energy sector, wherever we want to assess the efficiency and productivity of a decision-making unit. Within decision-making unit, it can be implemented at organizational level, departmental level, and individual DMUs also. So the example we discussed was at individual level. So this is feasible, and there are a lot of interesting research articles on these topics.
Great. This next question is a little more technical. Could you explain a little bit more about what NSGA 2 is and how it differs from DEA?
Right, they're using this Pareto concept and various frontiers uh, these algorithms gave as an outcome. So all those solutions which will come on first frontier, that will be non-dominated by rest other solutions. So these kind of outcomes will help the decision maker to identify the best choices. So if we have first frontier and we can identify some of the players on the first frontier, then what about second frontier and third frontier? So those who will come on the first frontier, definitely they are the best player. So they categorize the best choices in various levels, in various categories, while using multi-objective optimization. For example, budget is one constraint. Then the selection of players, in usually in Premier Leagues or in some tournament, we have some restrictions on selection of foreign players or maybe those who are playing from their home team. So various other constraints. So if we have multiple objectives and we need to find some optimal solution, then we can use NSGA2. Uh, so this is the advantage of NSGA2 over DEA.
All right, well, thank you for that explanation. And that's the end of our questions. I would like to thank everyone for attending this webinar, especially Professor Chandan for a very interesting presentation. I'm sure we're all very excited about learning more about this topic. I'd like to encourage everyone to check out our channel on LinkedIn for our future webinars. We have a great lineup going forward. And also go to our website, join as a member, and sign up for our newsletter so you learn about all the great resources that PACE has to offer. So again, our website is profitability-analytics.com, and see you all next time. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Greg,
All
and
right.
thank you, PACE, for the opportunity. Thank you.